Toprak Razgatlioglu is now emerging out onto circuit. We pick up Nicolo Bulliger, just about to make his way through the left-hander, the final turn. The Lorenzo hairpin to complete the lap. Less than 5 minutes then to go in this free practice 2. And Nicolo Bulliger is going to set us running with some flying laps at the end of this session as he crosses the line. Fastest yet this afternoon, a 1 minute 38.668, 0.2 of a second faster than Sam Lowes, who's just making his way out onto track. Andrea Iannone, third fastest. He has rejoined the fray after his earlier incident. Toprak Razgatlioglu then making his way through sector 2 and completing his installation lap to get going again.
Yeah, Bulliger setting the pace in sector 1 and sector 2. Sam Lowes the fastest time in sector 3, and then Bulliger again in sector 4. Again, another indication of just how well the Ducati's working around here this weekend. In terms of what Toprak's been able to do, he's 0.2 of a second off in the first sector. He matches the pace in sector 2. He's 1/10 of a second off in sector 3, and then he's 0.2 of a second off in sector 4. So bit of ground to be made up pretty much all the way around the track for Razgatlioglu.
Watching Xavi Vieca, and you can see his new helmet design for this weekend. Final round of the 2025 campaign. Final round for him with Honda, and celebrating 10 years of World Championship racing as well, Xavi Vieca.
And for Xavi, obviously, he'll switch to Yamaha, as we heard from Paul Denning earlier on. But yesterday at the Jonathan Rea press conference, Xavi, like a lot of the other Superbike riders, were there to mark the occasion. And he went over to the Yamaha crew for Johnny's side of the pit box, and he was like, "Hi guys." Just went over to say hello and meet everyone and shake hands. That'll be the big thing on Monday, just to get used to who everyone is, what their names are, what their roles are, and then building that relationship up. But speaking to some of the crew members, they immediately said, seems like a pretty nice guy, seems pretty cool, and we've been able to at least break the ice a little bit before the start of the weekend.
Yes, Toprak Razgatlioglu just coming through to complete his installation lap, and a flying lap will shortly be underway. Andrea Iannone's completed that lap. Of course, we saw him have his bike extricated from the gravel trap really earlier on in the session after a spill, and Iannone is directly behind Toprak Razgatlioglu on track. So we'll see what the laps look like for Iannone. His new personal best first sector, I think, that one coming in with 2.5 minutes to go here in FP2. And we pick up Alex Lowes, new personal best lap for him for this afternoon, 1:39.502. Few tenths of a second off his fastest time from earlier today, but again, I insist, it's very difficult to tell what the riders are doing in terms of their programs and particularly their tyres.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that we can really read into the immediate lap times until we get down to the Superpole session. That's the only time where we see everyone put it all on the line, that 15-minute session tomorrow morning. And that's whenever ultimately we'll see exactly where Toprak stacks up, because on this lap again, Toprak's not on course to improve.
And that's even more so than usual, isn't it? Because of the weird situation with Toprak struggling for feeling and making changes by the looks of things, and going out there for short stints, and also Nicolo Bulliger losing 10 minutes in this session. So very difficult to make that judgment. As Jonathan Rea makes his way through the final turn, we see him from the onboard camera from Razgatlioglu behind. Where's this lap going to put Jonathan Rea? It's certainly going to be his fastest of the afternoon. That's been a quiet one for him. 1:39.568 for Rea, so 0.9 of a second down on Bulliger, but less than 1/10 of a second down on Locatelli, his teammate.
This is the key thing, though. Alex Lowes, 6th fastest, 39.5. Locatelli, 39.5. Van der Mark, 39.5. Jonathan Rea, 39.5. And he's down in 9th spot, and you're less than a 1/10 of a second off being up there in 6th position. That's where the Superpole session becomes so important tomorrow, because those few hundredths of a second, that's the difference between qualifying well and having a good weekend or being in the midfield mire.
Yeah, let's find out tomorrow who fancies doing a little bit of tango with Jonathan Rea for the final time in the Superpole session.
I would be surprised if Rea doesn't leave the pits and he's pretty close to the back of Alex Lowes in tomorrow's session. We've seen them work well together at times already this season, and we saw it last time out. He worked with Nicolo Bulliger as well, so I think that there's going to be quite a few riders hoping that Rea's going to be able to bring himself up the order.
Nicolo Bulliger then rejoining the circuit, and as you can see, just running off there at turn 1, but more signs of a little bit of lack of comfort for our two championship favourites. And do you know, maybe that's just a good thing for us to have a few doubts before we get underway with the day tomorrow.
Yeah, ultimately Bulliger's done what he has to do, which is set the pace. He's had this technical issue. It hasn't really impacted him too much this afternoon. Toprak, on the other hand, though, hasn't looked comfortable. He hasn't looked at ease with that bike, and he's going to end the day second fastest on the combined times in all likelihood. but 4th fastest in this session. Never really been able to put himself close enough to Buliga. Never looking comfortable. Short runs, 5-lap runs for Toprak, rather than his usual long stints. That creates a little bit of a question mark going into tomorrow.
Sam Lowe's Andrea Iannone, Toprak Razgatlioglu did just see the checkered flag there. That comes out to bring an end to free practice 2, so there won't be any change there. Sam Lowe's, even with his final lap though, 1:39.189. Sam Lowe's looks to have decent pace on the evidence of what we've seen over the course of today. Not only the single lap pace that was only 2/10 down on Nicolo Buliga this afternoon, but throughout his stints, as I say, finishing with a decent lap there. Alex Lowe's will cross the line last lap of his final stint, and it's a 1:39.5, and within 1/10 of a second of his fastest time of the afternoon. So both riders with reasons for optimism, you would suggest.
Yeah, and as usual here at Jerez, everyone's able to put the bike pretty much into the window that they'd expect it to be in that midfield group. It's only really Toprak that you're looking at thinking that it's not quite where it needs to be right now, but obviously a lot of time until we get to tomorrow morning session, whenever it really counts in the Superpole session.